Tell me what the biggest problem is that ProcureAbility is solving for its clients.
Yeah, you bet. I think the way to bring this home for everybody out there in the world is to talk about some of the challenges that everybody experienced recently with the pandemic. To kick it off, we're a procurement services company, but we do more than procurement. We solve supply chain problems. And I would say about 2 years ago, most people had no idea what supply chain was even. But the
Really?
pandemic brought, uh, yeah, I think so. I think the average
Yeah.
person, if
Yeah,
you're
I
at
think
a
you're
cocktail
mm,
party and you're talking to your friends about
yeah,
supply chain, people would
yeah,
probably zone out and go to sleep.
yeah,
But now with the pandemic, supply
yeah.
chain's real. People went to the sporting goods store and
Mhm.
tried to buy a bicycle 3 years
Yeah.
ago.
Mm,
They were
right.
out of stock. They tried to buy a fishing pole during the pandemic, out of
Mhm.
stock. There was global shortages of recreational equipment like that, and then all of a sudden, couldn't get a car. Right? Couldn't buy a car. Price of used cars skyrocketed. We'd never seen this
Mhm.
before. All of these things are supply chain
Mhm.
problems. They're brought on to us by weaknesses and problems in our global supply
Right.
chain. We truly live in a global economy now, and we rely on a supply chain that is intermixed between countries and
Mhm.
regions. Different products are manufactured in different locations, brought together, manufactured in a second location, and then brought
Mhm.
together, distributed, and sold to where you and I go into a store and buy it. That whole supply chain, that whole system broke. So we help companies fix that problem. We help companies build a more resilient supply chain to prevent problems like that from coming up in the future.
Conrad, how much would you say this has to do with just-in-time manufacturing?
I love that question, and this is a great topic to
Yeah.
talk about. In the last, I don't know, 20
Mhm.
years or so, just in time has become a real popular did became become a real
Let's
popular thing,
define what
right?
that is in case there's anybody listening who doesn't know what
Sure.
that is.
So in just in time inventory or just in time
Mhm.
manufacturing is basically a streamlined process where products are made just before the user buys
Mhm.
it. Or so you can imagine there's not a lot of stuff sitting on shelves. There's no warehousing. There's not a lot of materials, a supply, a big inventory that people pull
Mhm.
from to manufacture the product. And the products aren't shipped to a
Right.
warehouse where they sit in the warehouse for a long time, and then the shelves are stocked from there. Everything's just
Right.
in time, so the raw materials arrive at the factory just before they're assembled. The product is assembled and completed and sent to the store just before you walk in the door and buy it. That just in time process works really well in a very well functioning global supply chain market. That it totally
Right.
broke in the
Right.
last 3 years. It
Yeah.
completely failed, and we had to rethink global strategy for how we manage our supply chain, how we manage our materials. And some of this is esoteric, right? Everybody can understand what it's like to go into the store and not there's no bicycle on the
Mhm.
shelf, and they want to buy their kid a bicycle
Mhm.
during pandemic because soccer's canceled, football's canceled, so they want to go for a bike ride as a family. There's no bikes
Mhm.
available. How is that possible? Never in my
Right.
life have I had an experience like that. None of us have ever had an experience like that where things just aren't available. And it was a result of this global supply chain problem and exacerbated in the just in time
Mhm.
world, which is why we saw problems in the automotive industry and why we saw prices of used cars
Right.
spiking so high because nobody could get a new car.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. So, I mean, we're I want to stay on this for a minute. I mean, this is probably not the last time we're going to see this happen. Um, so I have to wonder what companies are doing to fix this.
We're spending a lot of time these days talking about sustainable supply
Mhm.
chain, uh, sustainability of supply, resiliency, and basically building a supply chain that is not overly reliant on anything. Carol, what I love about business, I do something that's pretty specialized. We do contract negotiations. We create strategies for supply. A lot of what we do is very esoteric. But if you really boil it down to the fundamentals, it's the same thing that applies to so many different things in life: diversification, supply management. So in your portfolio, you probably have more than one investment. You have more than one
Yes, I
stock in
do.
your portfolio. You have more than
Right.
one mutual fund. You have more than one investment
Hmm.
vehicle. You have stocks and
Hmm.
bonds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have annuities. You have insurance. You have life
Yeah.
insurance. You have many, many
Diversified.
different
Yeah.
things in
Right.
you
Yeah.
diversify
Right.
your assets. So what we do fundamentally, one element of it is, what is the right way to
Hmm.
diversify your supply
Hmm.
chain to ensure
Hmm.
sustainability? How do you diversify your supply base? Do you buy all of your things from one supplier who lives in one country, who has one plant
Hmm.
that maybe is in a hurricane zone? Probably not a
Yeah.
good
Right.
strategy. So we help companies with global supply chain strategy first, to ensure that they're not overly reliant on a situation like that, that they have diversification, that they
Hmm.
have a variety of suppliers to ensure that if one is disrupted, that their operation doesn't
Hmm.
suffer.
So, ProcureAbility was founded in 1996 as the Denali Group by three individuals. They rebranded to ProcureAbility in 2017. You joined the company in 2001, became president in 2017, and moved into the CEO role last year. Tell me a little bit about really your journey to joining the Denali Group as a managing partner. What had you join them and stay with them for so many years?
So I started my career, look, if I go all the way back, I have a background in finance
Yeah.
and information systems. And I joined a management consulting firm right out of college and started my work, cut my teeth doing
Hmm.
consulting. And in that consulting firm, I learned how to do strategic sourcing, procurement, category management,
Hmm.
operations consulting. I've always been just very hands-on operational kind of mindset. That's what gets me
Right.
excited. And that's what I just love, to make things
Hmm.
work. I love to implement and actually make them happen. I don't write fancy reports that sit on a shelf and never get used. I don't write, we don't do assessments unless it's focused on implementing a real improvement to the
Hmm.
operation. From there, I joined Denali a long time ago. So about 5 years after the company
Yeah.
was founded, I joined the founders in 2001. I've been with the company for over
Yeah.
23 years now. It's been a wonderful place to work. The founders are very dear friends of mine at this
Hmm.
point. I mean, I'm almost in that founder group, given my
Hmm.
tenure. What has really kept me here is the mindset of the company. This company is founded on a couple different principles: autonomy, trust, and by doing that, we've really let people shine. And so, way back when I became in charge of my own clients, my own
Great.
scope of work, my own team at a very young age. And I basically demonstrated proficiency, and I was given more and more responsibility very, very rapidly. And that's an operating principle of procurability today.
Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.